Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has urged Thailand and Cambodia to seek peace during a special ASEAN foreign ministers meeting on their border dispute. Malaysia, which is ASEAN chair, will host a meeting today. And Mr. Anwar stressed it was an opportunity for both sides to directly negotiate and resolve their differences peacefully. The ASEAN observer team, which was deployed to the border earlier this month, will also present its findings. The Cambodia and Thailand both say they expect the meeting to de-escalate tensions. The Cambodia's foreign ministry said the discussions aim to restore peace, stability, and good neighborly relations. Phnom Penh adds that it will reaffirm its position of resolving disputes through peace, dialogue, and diplomacy. But Thailand's foreign ministry reiterated its three conditions for a truce. It said Cambodia must be the first to declare a ceasefire, which must be genuine and sustained. It also wants Cambodia to cooperate in demining efforts along the border. And the meeting comes as both sides continue to trade fire. The Bangkok Post said a Thai Marine lost his foot in a landmine explosion at a newly recaptured region. Investigators reportedly found fragments of a new explosive at the scene. Across the border, Cambodian media said the Thai forces struck a casino and bridge around the 60 kilometers from the border. The businesses relying on tourism have been caught in the crossfire.
និយាយរួមវាស្ងាត់វាអត់មានដូចមុនតាមពិតរដូវនេះគឺរដូវសម្បូរភ្ញៀវក៏ប៉ុន្តែគេកាត់បន្ថយគេ cancel ច្រើនអញ្ចឹងស្ងាត់ជាងមុនឆ្ងាយ
At least 22 people have been killed in Thailand and 19 in Cambodia. This according to officials from both sides. That close to 1 million have been displaced since renewed fighting erupted earlier this month. Thai officials are bracing for more clashes.
เมื่อไหร่จะมาใช่ไหมน่าจะยัง น่าจะอีกนานโอเคดูสถานการณ์ก่อนครับเพราะตรงนี้เป็นพื้นที่ที่ยังไม่จบ
For more insight, let's speak now with Bridget Welsh. She's an honorary research associate at the University of Nottingham Asia Research Institute, Malaysia, and she's joining us from Kuala Lumpur this morning. Dr. Welsh, so with direct talks on the table, we know the ASEAN observer finding to be presented later and ceasefire conditions still in play. Will today's ASEAN meeting make a difference?
Yes and no. Yes, I think that it puts them back at the table into a dialogue situation, and that's very important and substantive. I think that they've sent signals of potential de-escalation, and I think that is also optimistically positive. The problem, however, is that there are still vested interests in maintaining this conflict, and there are still significant issues that have yet to be resolved, and there's no clear gateway to get the resolution on those issues. And so I think that we might find some temporary relief, but not necessarily substantive relief.
And back to ASEAN, Dr. Welsh, can ASEAN actually play a stronger role than external mediators? And if a truce is indeed reached, can Thailand and Cambodia be trusted to stick to it?
Two difficult questions. The first question about ASEAN is that I think ASEAN has been playing a very important role. It's trying to keep peace and keep dialogue going. And I think this has been a test for the regional organization because the ASEAN was created to prevent conflict in Southeast Asia. And we have a rise of that conflict between two important countries in the region. I think it is going to be really challenging as the ASEAN chairmanship moves to the Philippines. I think that will potentially give more momentum, but I think ASEAN is limited. It can only really promote dialogue. It doesn't have any significant sticks and to actually influence partners, especially key partners such as Thailand, is part of the core of ASEAN. Then the question about, the issue of sustainable peace in that area. I think this is a real challenge because as I said earlier, there are vested interests that don't want the peace process to garner. There's vested interest in keeping the conflict going from a perspective of domestic politics. So I think it is going to be very hard to have a sustainable peace. I think ASEAN needs to move beyond just talking to the leaders of different countries, but try to build a peace constituency, a larger group of people vested in making sure that this war stops, and that because if it's resting only on political elites, then this is going to have a pattern of continuation.
And looking at external mediators, Dr. China has stepped up its diplomatic push. It seems like Wang Yi calling on both sides last week. Just how much real sway does Beijing actually have over these two countries? And given that Mr. Trump's tariff threats produced a ceasefire that didn't last long, what does China bring to the table that the U.S. didn't?
Well, China has close relations with both Cambodia and Thailand, and they're also a neighbor. And so I think that they are vested in keeping this peace process moving forward. And I think China has played a very constructive role in pushing for these issues. But the fact of the matter is that these domestic drivers, be it questions of the scam industry, be it the issues of political elections, are really difficult for any external mediator, be it the U.S. or China, to actually make any substantive changes. In terms of the U.S., I think that what we've seen is that the tariff stick was only limited capacity to get countries to play ball on this particular area. And this particular type of measures, right, external players are not going to be a long-term solution to this conflict. The underlying drivers, the border issue, as well as the factors that allow these nationalist sentiments to be played up, are really are things that have to be fixed within the countries and between the two countries. And so China, in this particular way, has an advantage because it has such good relations with both Cambodia and Thailand that it can actually be an interlocutor. But there are some challenges, and that challenges particularly involves how these countries relate to the United States. So, for example, the closing and the attacks on the scam centers in Cambodia, which is partly it's happened as a result of this border conflict. In terms of how it's evolved, it's seen as being a connect between the Thailand and the United States, and this is something of concern. Well, so it's about finding common ground, and also among the external actors, as well as making sure that they develop sort of a kind of parameters of what they want to achieve in terms of the external actors. Threats are not going to work, I think, in a very significant way, and I think the U.S. approach has been, in some ways, it shows it's very short-sighted when you don't recognize the domestic drivers of what's going on.
Yeah, the U.S. Donald Trump, of course, has met the ASEAN leaders. He flew in to do that and then recently got on the call with them as well. Do you expect Donald Trump to stay engaged in this conflict? And if so, what does he have left to help stabilize the situation?
Well, I think that Donald Trump is interested in this particular conflict because of Donald Trump. He wants to put it as one of his pegs on what he sees as solving global wars. We can see how effective that has been. But the fact of the matter is that the U.S. does have a lot of cards that they can use beyond the issues of tariffs. They have the issues of dealing and helping with the issues of the scam centers. They also have issues of financial support. I think there are lots of other tools at the disposal of the United States. In many ways, some of the traditional diplomacy tools that were used in the past, such as development funds and others, could be very important. And I think also the U.S. military has a good relationship with both the Thai and the Cambodian military. And this organization can also play a pivotal role in helping to create dialogue and also to help deal with the issues, particularly of landmines. So I think there are potential other things that can be brought to the table. But if you take an approach of bullying and your aim is to actually focus on what you could get out of it as opposed to what can be the long-term issues for Thailand and Cambodia, you're not going to get very far.
And it looks like the longer this confrontation drags on, the harder it becomes for either side to backtrack without losing face. Doctor, how much room do leaders really have to compromise given the domestic political pressure on both governments?
Well, I think the answer to that is not much, especially with an election coming in February in Thailand, and we have, a leadership in Cambodia under Hun Manet that is trying to strengthen its position domestically. So I think that this is where external actors can play a very important role, and this is where the ASEAN dialogue can also be an important. I think the external environment, the international community, can actually provide space where, in fact, domestic pressures have actually increased, and there has to be a sense of what is a viable solution. I think the fact is that the Thais have been very clear about what they want out of this particular issue in terms of not only territory but also issues of the landmines and others. And so I think focusing on the specific issues potentially allows more space as opposed to fanning the nationalist sentiments.
Okay, Doctor, give us your best case scenario over the next 3 to 6 months, and who really would have to blink first for this to de-escalate, you think?
Well, I think the best case scenario begins with hopefully a de-escalation today of some sort. I think everybody's looking for some sort of successful discussion and dialogue. And to find some sort of clear measure. We're also going to see, importantly, what the observer report says. So I think we have to begin from the short term as opposed to the longer term. In terms of who to blink first, I think it has to be the Cambodians, because in order to reduce the violence and the attacks, which are largely being driven predominantly on the Thai side in terms of expanding in issues and territories, they're also responding to the landmines and issues on the Cambodia side. I think that at this time they see this as starting from Cambodia, and so I think the fact of the matter is I think the Cambodians are going to probably have to blink first from a perspective of responding. But the fact is that there's still an underlying problem is that neither side trusts each other, and the other real challenge is how much do they trust the interlocutors, and this is also a problem from the perspective of the Thais trusting different ASEAN players, also trusting the Chinese and the United States, and when the international actors also don't trust each other, this also creates some particular sets of issues. So this is why it is important for the longer term to bring in other players besides just external diplomacy and leaders in order to try to build something that's more sustainable. Right now, I don't see any change to the pattern, at least until the Thai elections in February. And I think that's going to be another important period to watch to see what happens there. We might see a de-escalation, but I think these issues may continue to come back, as we saw very quickly in the early part of this month.
Okay, Dr. Welsh, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you very much for your insight this morning. We've been speaking to Bridget Welsh, Honorary Research Associate at the University of Nottingham, Asia Research Institute, Malaysia.